Welcome. We are looking at the recycle structure of the flow sheet. In previous lectures, we saw the basic decisions that we need to make while fixing the recycle structure of flow sheets, and then we also dealt with a few of these decisions such as the number of reactor systems, the number of recycle stream, use of excess reactant. Today we shall see the material balance with recycle streams. We have already seen the material balance for the overall process in the form of input-output structure of flow sheet. We now open that process box that we drew in case of input-output structure of flow sheet and make it into two boxes. First is the reactor system and then the separation system, and then we try to do material balance across these two boxes. Let us start with the HDA process, hydrodealkylation process, as example. Here toluene is reacted with hydrogen to give benzene and methane, and 2 moles of benzene undergo reversible reaction to produce diphenyl hydrogen. Okay. Let us try to draw a simple recycle structure of the process. As I said that we now open the process box and split it into reactor and separation system. We have not yet specified what kind of separation system we are going to use, but we know that from separation system two streams will emerge. One is the liquid stream and second is the recycle and purge stream. We have already seen decision under which we have to use recycle and purge system. So, the two feed streams to the reactor, hydrogen with impurity of methane and toluene, and the reactor effluent goes to the separation system, which splits the effluent into two parts, the liquid phase and gas phase. Okay. The gas phase stream coming out of the separation system essentially is unreacted hydrogen with methane, and the liquid recycle stream is unconverted toluene. Let Ft denote the total toluene feed to the reactor, out of which some part comes as a recycle stream and other as fresh stream. Okay. So, the fresh toluene that is fed to the reactor is denoted by FFT. Okay. And now we try to do material balance for a certain production rate of benzene and also diphenyl as a side product. If you do the material balance at the reactor inlet, the total feed of toluene comes from the fresh toluene and the unconverted part of total toluene feed. Now, let us say that X is the per pass conversion in the reactor, and therefore, the toluene that comes out unreacted is Ft into 1 minus X. We assume that all of this toluene is recovered in the separation system and is recycled back to the reactor. Now, if you simplify this particular expression, then we get a relation between fresh feed of toluene and the total feed of toluene. The total feed of toluene is FFT by X. Now, this material balance is always valid in case of limiting reactant. However, we have to assume complete recovery and recycle of limiting reactant. Now, in some cases, the limiting reactant may leave with the product or in the purge stream, and therefore, we have to slightly modify the balance, but we will see now again with an example that the general relation between the total feed of a limiting reactant and the fresh feed remains same. We now see example of ethanol manufacture. By hydration of ethylene. The basic process is ethylene reacts with water reversibly to give ethanol, and 2 moles of ethanol again combine reversibly to give diethyl ether and water. Let us say that the desired production rate of ethanol as azeotrope with 85.4 mole percent of ethanol is 783 mole per hour. Remember that ethanol is being produced as an azeotrope with 85.4% of ethanol. Now, let us try to draw the recycle structure of this particular process. The process will comprise of a single reactor because both reactions have same temperature pressure condition. Then there will be a separation system, comprising of distillation columns which will give ethanol azeotrope as product. Then there will be a recycle and purge stream for unreacted ethylene. The ethylene may also have some impurity of methane, and the 2 side products diethyl ether and water are recycled back to the reactor. Here the limiting reactant is water, and some water leaves the process with azeotrope. Okay. Now, we try to give the balance in a similar way as we did for HDA process. So, the production rate of azeotrope P azeo is 783 mole per hour. This contains absolute ethanol is 669 mole per hour, like Y azeo is the mole fraction of pure ethanol or absolute ethanol in the azeotrope. Okay. Then the amount of water that is in the product stream is 783 minus 669, which is 114 mole per hour. Now, the water that is fed to the process, which we have to write in the recycle stream, should comprise of the water that is leaving with the azeotrope and also the water that is required for the reaction. Okay. So, the water stoichiometer is 1. So, the water that is required for reaction is the same as the production rate of absolute ethanol, and the water that leaves with the azeotrope is 1 minus y azeo into P azeo. Okay. So, if we substitute values 0.854 into 783 plus 1 minus 0.854 into 783, we get 83 mole per hour. So, the total feed of water to the reactor system should be 783 mole per hour. Okay. Now, we say that the total amount of water that is entering is FW the water that is leaving with the product is FWP, water required for reaction is FWR, and the conversion is X. Balance for water is FWP plus FWR plus FW into 1 minus X minus FWP is equal to FW. And then if you simplify this, we get a very similar expression as in case of FDA process. This FW is FWR by X. The total feed rate of water is the water required for reaction divided by the conversion. We have to complete the material balance to calculate flow of other components of the process. Now, what we know at this stage is the flow rate of limiting reactant, both fresh reactant as well as recycled, and then we have to specify the molar ratio of other components to the limiting component. Now, again we go back to HDA process as example. Here the other component of other reactant is hydrogen and it is fed in excess. Okay. So, let us say that MR denotes molar ratio, the moles of hydrogen to the moles of aromatics. Now, I am using here word aromatics instead of toluene because we may also consider in the later discussion recycling of diphenyl to the reactor system. So, the total aromatics is toluene plus diphenyl in case diphenyl is recycled, or only toluene if diphenyl is taken out as a side product. Now, if we see the hydrogen balance for the process, the total hydrogen that enters the process is molar ratio into FFT by X, which is the moles of aromatics, okay, or toluene, and then this hydrogen should come from recycle stream and fresh gas feed. Now let the total flow rate of recycle stream be Rg and the mole fraction of hydrogen in that stream be YPH. Now we have used YPH as a notation for the mole fraction of hydrogen in purge gas. However, we should see that the purge gas and recycle gas are they originate from the same separation. So the composition is same. It is the same stream that is coming out of the reactor separation system, that is split in two parts. So the mole fraction of hydrogen in both the streams is same, and therefore we can use YPH as the variable in calculating the hydrogen balance. Let us say the fresh gas feed rate is Fg, the total molar flow, and YFH be the mole fraction of hydrogen in the fresh gas. Now we have specified earlier that the fresh gas comprises of 95% hydrogen and impurity of 5% methane. Now YPH is a variable. How does it affect the material balance? That we are going to see in detail in the tutorial following the lectures. Right now we use it as a variable. Therefore, the balance is Rg into YPH plus Fg into YFH equal to Mr into FFT by X. Now, when we did material balance for the input output structure, we had derived an expression for fresh gas feed rate, and that I would like to write again. It was Fg is equal to Pb by S divided by YFH minus YPH into 1 minus YPH into 1 minus S by 2. Now the derivation of this equation was already discussed in the previous lecture when we studied input output structure. So I am now borrowing this expression directly. If you substitute Fg in the previous balance here and simplify, then we get an expression for Rg in terms of the production rate of benzene, the selectivity, the mole fraction of hydrogen in purge stream, and mole fraction of hydrogen in fresh stream. So now we have all the material balance in terms of design variables Pb, S, YPH and Mr. Now obviously the optimization will depend on these variables which we will see in the subsequent lectures. In some cases the reactions are reversible. Now for these reactions the conversion X is a design variable. Of course, the design variable which we listed earlier also includes X, okay, that we left out. So the design variables are 5 Pb, S, YPH, Mr and X. Okay. Now for reversible reaction conversion X and equilibrium conversion XEQ are the main variables. Now how we should decide as how much should be the conversion? There are no thumb rules available. Okay. However, a good guess would be that X equal to 0.96 or maybe 0.98 XEQ, that we are approaching equilibrium conversion to maximum extent. Now in case of HDA process, The reversible byproduct is diphenyl. HDA process has two reactions, one is a irreversible reaction and second is reversible. Okay. So, 2 moles of benzene giving diphenyl and hydrogen. Now, the extent of diphenyl in the reactor effluent will be decided by the equilibrium constant, and the relation would be this. Now, we will see in the tutorial actual calculation of diphenyl using this. So, that completes the topic of reversible the recycle material balance. Now, let us see the reactor heat effects. One of the decisions that we have to make is whether to operate reactor isothermally or adiabatically, and to answer that question we need to look into the reactor heat effects. Okay. So, we note here answering the question whether to operate reactor adiabatically or isothermally. In many cases, there will be a limitation to the temperature achieved in the reactor. This is for exothermic processes. Okay. For endothermic processes, we have to supply heat. However, to answer the question whether we have to operate the reactor adiabatically or isothermally, we have to see the heat effect of the reactor, that is the net heat generated or required for the reaction. Now, in case of heat removal from the reactor, we have several options, like to have cooling jackets or cooling coils, or in some cases we add a diluent or heat carrier, or we also add, we increase the recycle flow. So and so forth. Okay. However, to choose between these options, we need to first know the heat generated. Okay. Now, the reactor heat load, whether positive or negative, is essentially the heat of reaction multiplied by the fresh feed rate of limiting reactant. We would always like to specify reactor heat load in terms of fresh feed rate of limiting reactant, because conversion of fresh feed limiting reactant is complete. Okay. That point we note. We would prefer to specify heat load in terms of limiting reactant, since conversion is complete. If we use instead of fresh feed the total feed, then we have to specify conversion extent of conversion, there will be a large recycle flow and so forth. So it is much easier to do calculation in terms of fresh feed rate. Okay. Now, before we decide how to remove or add heat, we have to see the adiabatic temperature change of the reactor. This means that the temperature that the reactor will achieve if all heat generated or required for the reaction is supplied by the reactor contents or basically the reactants. Again we take the HDA process as example. The heat of reaction of HDA process is minus 21,530 BTU per mole toluene. Therefore, the net heat liberated would be minus 21530 into Pb by S, where Pb is the production rate of benzene and S is selectivity. And we have already derived this relation. Fresh feed rate of toluene is Pb into S. Okay. Now, we had considered example of production rate of benzene at 265 mole per hour and selectivity as let us say 0.98 or 96. So, the FFT is approximately 273 mole per hour, and then the net heat liberated delta HR is minus 21530 into 273, that is minus 5878 into 10 to power 6 BTU per hour. Now, before we go for further calculation, I would like to give some conversions. Unit conversion, 1 BTU is 1055 joules, okay, and with this you can convert the calculation into SI units. In tutorial we shall see calculations mostly in SI units. Okay. This is just learning principles. So, I am using previous units. So, for production of 265 mole per hour of benzene, the heat that is required is minus 5.878 into 10 to power 6 BTU per hour. Okay. Now, the reactants enter at temperature of 1150 degrees Fahrenheit, and if we operate the reactor adiabatically, then all of this heat generated in the reaction is absorbed by the reactants or the products basically. Okay. Now, if we do material balance, if we substitute, let us say Pb equal to 265 mole per hour, FFT is 273 mole per hour, and if we assume per pass conversion to be 75% and the hydrogen in purge stream as mole fraction of hydrogen in purge stream as 0.4, then the reactor effluent is benzene 265 mole per hour, unreacted toluene 91 mole per hour, diphenyl will be about 4 mole per hour. We have to give the makeup gas Fg as 496 mole per hour, and the recycle gas Rg would be 3371 mole per hour. Now I am writing these figures directly, but you can very easily calculate these figures by putting these numbers into the expressions that we have derived earlier. Okay. In the tutorial, we shall see a direct calculation of the entire material balance using a MathCAD sheet, and there you can see these figures calculations further. Okay. However, now what we do is that instead of using benzene, we take toluene 273 mole per hour for calculation of the adiabatic temperature rise. That means the heat that is generated in the process, 5.8 million BTU per hour, is absorbed by total toluene, then makeup gas and recycle gas. We do not consider at this moment the products. Okay. Now, what will be the exit temperature if the entry temperature is 1150? Okay. Now, for this we have to do a very simple heat balance. Q is equal to m Cp delta T, okay, where delta T is T out minus T in, entry exit temperature minus entry temperature. Now, in order to calculate MCP, we need to know the molar flow rates, which I have already listed, and the molar heat capacities. The heat capacities of various components in BTU per mole per degrees Fahrenheit are hydrogen 7, methane 10.1 and toluene 48.7. Okay. Now, with this we can quickly write a heat balance minus 5.878 into 10 to power 6 is equal to 273 plus 91 into 48.7 plus 496 into 7 plus 3371 into 8.86. Okay. Now, the 8.86 is the heat capacity of recycle gas, which we have calculated as molar flow rate of hydrogen into 0.4 molar flow rate of hydrogen into 7 plus 3371 into the methane fraction 10.1 divided by 337. This turns out to be 8.86 BTU. Now, into this is the MCP thing. dt is T in minus T out. Now, we are writing reverse of delta T that was written here, because we have taken the heat as negative. Okay. If we take absolute heat, then this becomes delta T as written T out minus T in, and now we can very easily calculate the exit temperature as 1265 degrees Fahrenheit. That means, if we operate the reactor adiabatically, the maximum temperature reached in the reactor is 1265 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, in the previous lecture I had mentioned to you the temperature limits for the HDA process. The temperature limits were 1150 to 1300 degrees Fahrenheit. The lower limit was fixed by kinetics and the upper limit was fixed by thermal decomposition. And now we see that even if all the heat that is liberated in the reaction is absorbed by the reactor contents, the temperature that is reached in the reactor is below the upper limit. Therefore, it would be easier to operate reactor adiabatically. We are not going to cross the limit if we operate reactor adiabatically. Of course, we have not considered here the various losses that occur due to radiation, convection, so on and so forth. So, in reality the temperature that is reached will be lesser than 1265 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. So, this is how we decide whether to operate reactor adiabatically or isothermally. In some cases, you have to supply the heat of reaction. For example, the acetone production. Okay. Now, this reaction is an endothermic reaction. The process is dehydrogenation of isopropanol. And the heat of reaction here is plus 25,800 BTU per mole. Now, this of course is also is a reversible reaction, some reversible component is there. Okay. Now, in this case we have to supply the heat of reaction. Now, for a particular rate of production of acetone, let us say we take rate of production of acetone as 51.3 mole per hour. The total heat required to be supplied to reactor is 51.3 into 25,800, that is 1.324 into 10 to the power 6 BTU per hour. Okay. Now, let us say that the entry temperature of reactant is 576 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, reactants mean both fresh as well as recycle. If all the heat of reaction that is required is taken from the reactants, the temperature falls below 0 degrees Fahrenheit, which is impractical, and therefore, we have to operate reactor isothermally, that is, we have to provide the heat of reaction. Now, in this case, the reactor itself is a heat exchanger in which the catalyst is packed in the tubes, and IPA, the isopropanol, again as an azeotrope, flows over the catalyst bed, and then Dow-therm liquid is condensed in the shell and the heat of reaction is supplied. Okay. We shall see detailed calculations in an example. How does the reactor heat load influences the reactor design? Okay. If the reaction is catalytic reaction, then we have options of having a fixed bed reactor, a moving bed reactor, a fluidized bed reactor, and in fluidized bed there are mode of operation like bubbling fluidized bed, or circulating fluidized bed. However, the amount of reactant that can be processed in a single reactor is limited by the heat of reaction. Now, typically as a thumb rule, if the reactor is a fixed bed reactor, in the form of heat exchanger, and as I just said that the catalyst is packed in the tube over which the reactant flows, then typically the heat transfer area that can be accommodated in a heat exchanger is about 6,000 to 8,000 feet square. Otherwise, the reactor size becomes excessively large. Now, we know the basic relation in heat transfer. Q is equal to U A delta T. Q is the heat duty of the reactor. U is the overall heat transfer coefficient. Delta T is the temperature driving force. We most of the time calculate it in terms of LMTD, and A is the area of the reactor. Okay. Now, if the reaction is a vapor phase reaction, the overall heat transfer coefficients that can be achieved are limited. For example, for a vapor or let us say gas phase reaction, the typical U that can be achieved is about 20 BTU per hour per feet square per degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. Now, if the heat load is 1 million BTU, then the area that is required will be 20 into A into delta T. Now, let us assume that we have a sufficiently high delta T of about 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. This would be the case when we have, as I just said, a condensing vapor in the shell and gas flow in the or vapor flow in the tubes. This is typically delta T that we are likely to achieve. Then the area that is required, area per million BTU of heat load, will be 1 into 10 to power 6 divided by 20 into 50, that is 1000 feet square. Now, we have the limit of heat exchanger area in a single unit, that is 6,000 to 8,000 feet square. So, this means that the total heat duty in a reactor can be about 6 to 8 million BTU, and on this basis we can decide the molar flow rate of the limiting reactant. Like for example, we just saw the HDA calculation where the heat load was minus 5.8 into million BTU into 10 to power 6 million BTU, and this particular process could be carried out in a single reactor. We do not have to split the streams. If the heat load for a particular production rate is higher than this, then we will have to have two parallel reactors in which the feed will be split in two parts. Let us see the heat carriers, or how do we control the temperature in a particular reactor. We just saw that the reactor heat load is fixed by the fresh feed rate of limiting reactant. Okay. Now, if the other reactant is fed in excess, then we have a very large amount of unreacted reactant at the reactor outlet. Now, to control the temperature, one easy way would be to recover and recycle of the unreacted reactant. Control of temperature can be achieved by recycling of unreacted reactant, which acts as a heat diluent. It adds to the mass of the reactor and then tries to absorb the heat and control temperature. Or you can also recycle some of the byproducts if they are not going to trigger any side reaction, or you can also add an extraneous component. Like some inert, like nitrogen or methane. Okay. However, the cost of this extraneous component and then its processing etc. will add to the overall operating cost. Okay. For example, in HDA process, we have the side product of methane. We just saw that methane has sufficiently high heat capacity of 10 BTU per mole per degrees Fahrenheit. If we recycle more gas, more unreacted hydrogen along with methane, the methane acts as a heat diluent. We saw that methane was not triggering any side reaction in the process, but because of its high heat capacity, relatively high heat capacity, it can help in controlling the temperature of the process. Same thing happens in case of oxidation system. Here nitrogen in air acts as heat diluent. Now, in order to reduce the cost of compressor, one of the options process alternatives that is used in HDA process is purification of the recycled gas, that is taking out hydrogen and throwing off methane, or in some cases, in case of oxidation system, enriched air is used, where the oxygen content of air is raised from 20%, which is normal, to 40-50%. Okay. Now, this reduces the load on compressor. However, we also need to see the other side of the coin, that less content of methane in recycled gas in case of HDA process or less content of nitrogen in air can give rise to surge of temperature. Okay. And therefore, in that case, we will have to take additional precautions to remove the excess heat, so that the temperature limit is not crossed. Okay. If we recycle gas, then of course the compression cost is high, but at the same time we do not have to worry about the temperature surge. In the next lecture, we shall see the actual reactor design or reactor design protocol, okay, and we shall also see some examples.